My name is Martha Jean Simmons. I'm 68 years old. Just this morning, I buried my husband Charles Simmons, the only man I've ever loved. We were married for 42 years. I wore the same navy dress he once said made me look like the woman he prayed for. I held on to our wedding photo the whole time, pressed close to my heart as they lowered him into the earth. I thought that would be the hardest part of my day. I thought grief had already taken everything from me. But I was wrong. On the ride home, my only son, Jason, took a turn off the main road. Trees closed in. No houses, no signs. I asked gently, "Where are we going?" He didn't answer. He stopped the car on a remote gravel stretch. The engine was still running when he looked over at me stone cold and said, "This is where you get out." Then he opened my door, tossed a black trash bag onto the road, and drove away. I stood there, stunned, in my funeral dress, in silence, in disbelief. If you want to hear how I took everything back and left the son who abandoned me with nothing like, share and subscribe to this channel. And let me know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I still remember the way Charles smelled of motor oil and peppermint. That's how he came home every evening, hands stained from fixing engines, pockets full of candy he swiped from the bowl at the front of the garage. He'd press one into my palm and say, "A sweet for my sweeter." After 42 years, I still looked forward to that tiny gesture. We didn't have much, but we had warmth. We had love. We raised Jason on a 2-bedroom ranch just outside of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, the kind of place where neighbors brought casseroles and waved from porches. We painted that house with our own hands. Charles laid the tile in the kitchen. I stitched the curtains in the living room. Every inch of that home had a piece of us in it. Jason was our everything, our only child, our miracle baby after 4 heartbreaking miscarriages. We poured ourselves into him. Charles picked up double shifts at the shop just to send him to a private high school. I worked weekends at the church thrift store to make sure he never had to wear secondhand clothes. When he got accepted into college, we cried together right there in the mailbox lane. We gave him our savings, bought him a car, paid his rent the first year he lived off campus. Charles said, "We're not just raising a son, we're building a legacy." And I believed it. I believed that if we gave him love, he'd grow up to give it back. And for a while, he did. He called every Sunday, sent postcards from internships, brought girlfriends home during the holidays. He never left without hugging me twice, once at the door, once in the driveway. I saved every letter he wrote from college in a floral box under my bed. But something started shifting the year Charles got sick. Jason called less. He'd rush off the phone. When I asked him to help with doctor visits, he said work was crazy. When Charles was hospitalized for the 3rd time, Jason said he was burned out and needed to protect his peace. I should have known. The day Charles died, Jason didn't shed a tear. He barely looked at the casket. He gave some weak speech about time being precious. I thought maybe grief was hitting him differently. That's what I told myself. But deep down, I felt it. The chill. He stopped calling me Mom and started calling me Ma'am. He started asking questions about the house, about the deed, about Charles's accounts. Said things like, "You shouldn't be handling all this alone," or "Maybe I should take over some responsibilities now." Still, I trusted him. Still, I believed my son would never hurt me. Until the day he pulled off that road and left me there. And that was when I realized I had spent my whole life building a home, a future, a legacy for someone who saw me as a burden the moment my husband's body went cold. But what he didn't know was this. I may have been raised to be gentle, but I wasn't raised to be weak. And if he thought he could take everything from me, my home, my memories, my dignity, he was about to learn that I still had one thing left. Fight. and I was going to use every ounce of it. The day we buried Charles, the sky was so blue it almost mocked me. It should have rained. It should have thundered and cried the way I was. But instead, the sun just sat there, bright, uncaring, watching as I folded a rose into my hands and stood over the coffin of the only man I'd ever loved. Jason stood beside me, not a tear in his eye. His face was blank, like the loss hadn't touched him at all. He gave a short eulogy, filled with empty words and practiced pauses, like something he'd copied off the internet the night before. I remember thinking, where's the boy who used to beg his daddy to push him higher on the swing? Where's the son who sobbed when Charles missed a school play? Gone. Replaced by a man who barely looked at the casket. I tried to hold it together. I was pouring lemonade into styrofoam cups, shaking hands, thanking neighbors, hugging church folks. My legs were trembling, but I kept moving. That's how grief works, quietly, like a pressure behind the eyes. Jason pulled me aside near the kitchen. "Ma, we need to talk about the house," he said, voice low. I blinked. "Jason, we just put your father in the ground." "I know," he replied, flat. "But the sooner we deal with things, the easier it'll be for you." He said deal with things, like we were closing up a garage sale, not dismantling the life Charles and I built for over 4 decades. Over the next few days, I couldn't grieve in peace. Jason hovered, always with a document in his hands, always needing a signature, always saying, "Don't worry, Ma, it's just a formality." He started showing up early, staying late. I caught him once, talking to Charles's lawyer, without me. Another time, I walked into the study, and he jumped, quickly closing the file cabinet like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. But what shook me most was what started disappearing. First, it was Charles's watch, the one he wore every Sunday to church. I kept it in his sock drawer, wrapped in a handkerchief. Gone. Then our wedding album, the one with the velvet cover, the one with all the Polaroids from our honeymoon in the Smokies. I turned the whole house upside down. I asked Jason, and he just shrugged, said maybe I misplaced it. But I hadn't misplaced anything. Things were being taken. And so was I, piece by piece. He told me I was confused, that grief was making me forget things. He told me I didn't need to worry about the finances anymore, that I was too old to handle the stress. He spoke to me like a nurse talks to a senile patient. One night, I overheard him on the phone. He was in the guest room, and the door cracked open. I was passing by with a laundry basket when I heard him say, "She's signing everything. She doesn't even read it." And then laughter. High, low, and cruel. That's when the truth hit me like a train. My son wasn't grieving his father. He was erasing him, erasing us. And I was standing there, drowning in sorrow, while he quietly carved up my life behind my back. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I might have been grieving, but I wasn't blind. And I wasn't about to let my husband's death be the start of my own disappearance. Jason said he wanted to take me for a drive, said it was to help me clear my head like I was some fragile woman who couldn't handle the world without him steering the wheel. I was tired, yes, broken, but I thought maybe, just maybe, my son still cared. We left the house, windows down, the late spring breeze soft against my skin. For a moment, the hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of the tires on the road felt almost soothing. I closed my eyes, letting the memories wash over me. The laughter, the dinners with Charles, Jason running around the yard with his baseball glove. I thought maybe I was going to find some comfort. But then the road started to narrow, and the trees grew thick and close. The houses disappeared. No more mailboxes, no streetlights, just dirt and dust, and the scent of wild grass. Jason's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. I opened my eyes and watched him from the corner of my vision. There was something cold in his stare, a weight I hadn't seen before. He pulled over, right there on a deserted back road. The kind you see in movies when someone is about to vanish forever. He turned to me, expression blank, voice clipped. "This is where you get off, Mom. You'll be fine." I blinked. My heart dropped so fast, I thought it would shatter. "Jason, what?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached over and yanked the door handle open. Before I could react, the door swung wide, and I was halfway out. In his other hand, he held a black garbage bag. He tossed it to me like I was nothing more than yesterday's trash old clothes, maybe a few personal things I hadn't even packed. I caught the bag, disbelief washing over me. The wind ripped at my hair. The car door slammed shut. The engine roared, then disappeared down the dusty road, leaving me standing there alone, trembling, clutching that filthy bag, as if it could somehow protect me from what just happened. The silence that followed was deafening. I was a mother, a widow, the woman who had spent nearly 4 decades loving, sacrificing, and building a life with Charles. And here I was abandoned by my own son on some forgotten road with nothing but the clothes on my back and the ghosts of memories trailing behind me. I didn't cry at first. I couldn't. My throat was dry. My hands shook. All I could do was stand there, stunned, trying to make sense of the cruel betrayal. How did this happen? How did the boy who once clung to my hand turn into a man cold enough to do this? The ache in my chest wasn't just grief anymore. It was a raw, burning wound, deep and ragged. But even then, beneath that pain, something else stirred a spark. Because what Jason didn't know was that I wasn't done yet. No, I was only just beginning. The car disappeared down the dusty road, leaving me standing alone with nothing but a trash bag and a pounding heart. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows over the empty fields around me. I had nowhere to go, no plan, and not a single person to call, or so I thought. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. I shuffled down that lonely road until I saw the flicker of a neon sign at a gas station. My legs felt like lead, but I kept moving, each step heavier than the last. Inside, the attendant's eyes softened when he saw a woman in worn clothes clutching a garbage bag like it was a lifeline. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a bottle of water and a sandwich. When I told him I needed help, he offered to call someone. That someone was Deborah, my childhood friend, who hadn't forgotten me despite the years and distance. Deborah didn't hesitate. She picked me up, wrapped me in warmth and safety, and opened her home without judgment. It was in her cozy living room, surrounded by old photos and familiar laughter, that I began to breathe again. But breathing wasn't enough. I had to fight, because Jason wasn't done with me. Soon, Deborah helped me uncover the truth, the cruelest betrayal yet. Jason had forged documents, tried to steal everything. The house, the savings, the life Charles and I built. But he didn't know about the original will of Charles's last wish, written years before his sudden passing. The will was clear. Jason's inheritance was conditional, tied to responsibilities he never bothered to meet. That piece of paper, hidden away in a safe place, was my lifeline. It meant Jason's plan was flawed, and I had a chance to reclaim what was rightfully mine. I sat there, heart pounding, the weight of loss heavy but mingled with a growing fire inside. I wasn't a helpless widow abandoned on a forgotten road. I was a mother who had lost everything, yes, but also a woman who was about to take back her life. Jason thought he could erase me, toss me out like garbage, and walk away with the prize. But he underestimated my strength, the bond Charles and I shared, and the truth tucked inside that will. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of my fight. I sat quietly in Deborah's living room, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me, but inside, a slow fire began to burn. I wasn't going to let Jason steal everything Charles and I had built, not without a fight. That day, I made a decision. I would take back what was mine piece by piece. I found an estate attorney, someone calm, experienced, and precise. Together, we started digging through the layers of deception Jason had woven. The original will, safely tucked away, revealed Charles's true intentions. Our marriage documents, joint savings accounts, all the proof I needed to reclaim what Jason tried to steal. As I sifted through old phone records, my hands trembled when I found texts from Jason to a friend. He was bragging, careless and cruel. Once she's gone, it's all mine. I'm selling the place and heading to Florida. Those words ignited a fury I didn't know I had. The lawyer filed motions to reverse every forged document, to freeze assets, and to expose the lies Jason had built his plan on. Court hearings followed, long, draining, but each day brought me closer to justice. I watched from a distance as Jason's grip on our family legacy began to unravel. His finances collapsed under legal pressure. The house, the savings, everything he thought he could claim slipped through his fingers like sand. But this wasn't just about money or property. It was about dignity, respect, and reclaiming my life. Every document filed, every court date attended, felt like a step toward healing. Jason's betrayal was bitter, but my quiet revenge was sweeter, a reminder that no matter how deep the wound, strength and truth can rebuild even the most broken lives. If you face betrayal or loss, remember this: resilience is your most powerful weapon. Stay strong, stand firm, and never let anyone erase your worth. After months of waiting, the court finally ruled in my favor. The judge saw through Jason's lies, his forged documents, his selfish schemes, and restored the will to its rightful place. Justice wasn't just a word anymore. It was real. Jason's bank accounts were frozen. The house returned to me, and even his car was towed away. It was in my name all along. Walking back through the front door after 3 long months felt strange. The walls held memories, but the air was thick with betrayal. This house, once full of laughter and love, now felt hollow, a reminder of everything I had lost and everything I'd fought to reclaim. I knew I couldn't stay, so I made the hardest decision to sell it all. The house, the furniture, every asset tied to that painful chapter, one liquidated everything. I set up a trust, a fresh start protected from anyone like Jason who thought they could take what's not theirs. From those ashes, I found my authority, my power. This wasn't just about money or possessions. It was about taking control of my life again. I refused to be a victim of greed or cruelty. If you're watching and struggling with betrayal, remember this: reclaiming your power takes courage, but it's possible. Take action, protect what's yours, and never settle for less than respect. Leaving behind everything I once knew wasn't easy, but I knew I had to start fresh. I packed what little I needed and moved to a quiet seaside town where no one knew my name. I bought a small condo, but not just in my name this time. It was held under a trust. Jason wouldn't find me here, and that gave me a peace I hadn't felt in years. Each morning, I wake up to the sound of waves gently crashing against the shore, a reminder that life keeps moving forward, even when you feel stuck. I take long walks through the garden paths near my home, breathing in the salty air, feeling the calm settle deep inside me. It's a simple life, but it's mine. Deborah still sends me postcards now, and then little reminders that true friendship lasts through every storm. Those notes brighten my days and remind me I'm not alone, even when the past tries to drag me back. I've learned that starting over doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing yourself, choosing peace over pain, freedom over fear. If you're facing a storm, know that calm is possible. Protect yourself, trust your strength, and don't be afraid to rebuild your life on your own terms. He tried to reach out, emails flooding my inbox, phone calls I didn't answer. But I had nothing left to say. Jason was gone from my life, and it wasn't long before his world crumbled. Jobless, homeless, and alone, he burned every bridge and lost everything. One day, a letter arrived at my old address, addressed simply to Mom. It came back to me stamped undeliverable. It was a silent message. He had no place left to call home, no way back to me. He left me by the side of that remote road, hoping I'd break. But I rose from that gravel, stronger than ever before. Sometimes the people we love the most carry the deepest knives. But once you stop bleeding, you become the blade. If this story moved you, please like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of strength and survival. Remember, sometimes betrayal hides behind the kindest smile. Stay vigilant, stay strong.